Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hi, I'm Shuchi, and good afternoon from India. Lovely to see you all. If you're present, we're hoping lots of you join for the next 2 days to attend the Regional Virtual Hub Summit. Without much further ado, I shall only be around to welcome you, and without much further ado, I shall hand over to Tony Giselle Stewart, who is our lovely poetess for today. And she has a lovely poetry performance planned to inspire us through the next 2 days as we get ourselves into this very busy quarter with the CBD COP, with the UNFCCC COP, the UNCCD COP, and so on. Welcome, Tony, and over to you.
Thank you, Suchi. Good morning, everybody from Kamisa, known more commonly as Cape Town, here where the mountain rises out of the sea. We call that mountain Hurikwaho. Everyone else knows it as Table Mountain. And I'm going to share some poems that speak to this intimate relationship with land that we are rebuilding, reclaiming as a way of being resilient in deep relationship with the earth. And I'm going to start by just doing a very short grounding meditation for all of us to arrive and land in our bodies. And then I will move into the poems. So I invite you to, wherever you are, sit with your eyes closed. If you are sitting in a chair, making sure that your back is straight and that your feet can reach the floor. And we're just going to start by taking a long, slow, deep breath in all the way down to the base of your spine. And then exhaling out through your mouth. And on your next inhale, imagining from your feet that there are roots growing down into the earth. Allowing those roots to reach all the way down through the layers of soil, growing, stretching until they wrap themselves around the earth's core. And then on your next inhale, breathing in a breath from the earth up into your feet, into your body, feeling your bones and your muscles soften, feeling your body give its weight to gravity, really allowing the earth to hold you, allowing that breath to move up into your whole body. And now, still with your eyes closed, from the crown of your head, feeling roots growing all the way up to the sky, in to the air above you, out past the earth's atmosphere. And allowing those roots from the crown of your head to touch the sun. And then breathing in a breath from the sun, warm, soft, golden light. And allowing this breath to really just fall into any parts that may be tight, that may be tense. Allowing your body to soften. And then just setting an intention for the rest of the day. For this breath of the earth to continue breathing into you, and this breath from the sun to continue breathing into you. And from this place, remembering and feeling how we are held by the earth and the sun, how we are nourished and fed by the earth and the sun. And in this simple way, we are resilient. And so now, inviting you as you open your eyes to think of a place somewhere in nature that means something to you, a place that is a resource for you. And as I share my first poem, I'd like you to imagine yourself in that place. And so this poem is called When the Mountain Calls. When the mountain calls, we answer slowly, listening gently for the footsteps ahead, then follow. The smell of Cape May bush bends toward us along the path up the river's bank. Here where impepu sprouts, there where we lay our backs on sandstone, the weak winter sun soaks our skins warm. This mountain once stood full under sea's reach. The wind sweeps across it, whistling through stone to sing all the whispered stories rustling in its caves, under its granite ledges. Smell the buchu, child, taste the camphor. See how the silver leaf sighs in the wet June light. A voice I cannot name reaches into my spine and sings out into the hollow below my ribs. I stay lying flat, skin to sandstone, eyes to clouds, sinking further still into the silence, learning for the first time how prayer and listening are two names for the same breath. And I invite you to lean into this place as you move over the next 2 days. I know that you will all be meeting virtually, and yet at the same time, finding ways to bring the earth into the space is an act of remembering resilience and bringing that resource of the earth into the work and into the conversations. The definition of resilience, I'm a word person, and so this is how we work, is the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties, or the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape. And for this to happen, for us to be resilient, the soil in which a thing is grown must be nourished. So whether that's the metaphorical soil or the literal soil. And if we look at the earth, it teaches us resilience every day. And what I'm going to share are stories from Cape Town of people and histories of this place that speak to a deep, intimate relationship between people and the land and the resilience that grew out of that relationship in history, and also work that organizations and individuals are doing to reclaim and remember that relationship with the earth, and in this way build resilience. So the second poem I'm going to share is speaks to the work of the Beach Co-op. And this is a nonprofit organization that runs monthly beach cleanups focusing on single-use plastics. And from their monthly beach cleanups, they grew to an organization that was offering programs that connected community, business, and government around removing single-use plastics from circulation. They also worked to bring back communities who were displaced from the ocean side during apartheid, bring them back to the coast, to this coastal heritage through this work of citizen science. And so this poem is called Ocean Home. New moon. At low tide, the waves pull back, exposing the rocky shore. Bare feet step and scramble slowly over ragged edges and into pools. Eyes search the crevices and hidden wells for straws, earbuds, chip packets, bottle tops, sweet wrappers, fishing line, water bottles, light sticks, carrier bags, lollipop sticks. These totems of our fast consumption, swimming with starfish and nudibranchs, growing next to sea anemones and feather duster worms. A dozen dirty lifetimes wash into the ocean's swell. First quarter moon. Before dawn, the harbor hums with engines switched on, ropes whipped back and nets hurled on. Fathers, uncles, husbands, brothers throw silent prayers overboard, calling for the currents to run with their nets, to fill their boats, to feed their families, keep the lights on. Out in the deep water, the men remember the stories of sea as living beings, who must be honored for her provision. The men speak of a time when whale was ancestor, just as cave was, and how rain begins in the ocean, a dance between sun and sea, evaporation. Water in air cools its breath, condensation. Clouds exhale to cleanse our skies, precipitation. Rivers, soil, lakes take the water back, collection. An endless cycle of give and receive, one we keep breaking but have the power to repair. Full moon. This is False Bay. This is the bay of slavery and escape. This is the bay of railway lines. This is the bay of shipwrecks and fishermen. This is the bay of forced removals. This is the bay of tidal pools for whites only. This is the bay where Kwamata sleeps. This is Table Bay. This is the bay of Hurikwaho. This is the bay of canalized rivers. This is the bay of sweet waters. This is the bay of washerwomen at the river. This is the bay of trade and travel. This is the bay where our ancestors fought. This is the bay where our ancestors won. And deep below the surface in the darkness, we cannot see phytoplankton absorb carbon, release oxygen, creating clean air for us to breathe. Third quarter moon. These tidal pools were fish traps built by Khoi hands, stone for stone. Now we swim with octopus and sea hare, urchins and cuttlefish. In the water, ordinary citizens become scientists, and the children of people forcibly removed return to learn again that the sea is our home too. So with paper and pencil, or an app on a phone, we record, collect data as we clean the shore that has fed us for generations. We swim, we dive and explore the world below, and with each wade into shallow waters, with each deep breath held long, we remember to ask, who walks with us? Who swims with us? Who breathes with us? Our resilience comes from the stories that live in the soil, in this mountain, in this ocean, in our rivers, in our wetland. And some of these stories are of ancestors whose intimate relationship with the land allowed them to resist colonial rule, to defy the bounds of slavery, and create freedom on their own terms. I'm going to share one such story of the washerwomen of the Platteklip River on Hurikwaho, who during the time of colonialism and slavery used the money that they earned washing clothes in this river to buy their husbands, their brothers, the men out of slavery. The washerwomen. We clean stones in the water. We clean stones in the water. We clean stones in the water. Burn their crops, let the cattle loose. Burn their crops, let the cattle loose. Burn their crops, let the cattle loose. You can hear our voices here in Kamisa. The Platteklip sings our stories just as it holds our lost buttons, coins, and broken cups. With each piece taken, the stream remembers one of our names. At this river, we wash more than linen. Cufflinks fall into the water with our tears and laughter, our secrets and songs. Yesterday, the water carried our laughter with Josephine's necklace over its stone. Dorothea brought cake to celebrate her birthday. We laid a cloth next to the kooigoed bush, licked the lemon drizzle off our fingers, and listened to Fatima's story of old man Willem the shoemaker who keeps losing his hammers. Every morning, old man Willem gets to his workbench and shouts, "Woman, where's my hammer?" His wife rolls her eyes, walks outside to fetch it from the outhouse, brings it back to old man Willem's workshop. Our laughter litters the grass as Fatima speaks. Every morning the same story. He's never caught me out. You see, every night when old man Willem is asleep, Fatima sneaks into the workshop, takes the hammer and puts it in the cistern in the outhouse. Old Lady Willem thinks her husband is going senile. Fatima laughs as she watches the escapade frying the eggs and cooks oats for their breakfast. We laugh as we listen to Fatima's voice and the water song. Today we wash for Brother David, Josephine's husband. Just a few more coins, and then he can buy his freedom. Josephine has been turning cloth over stone all year for this. Every morning she carries 2 baskets up the mountain. 1 to feed the children, 1 for David. Today, all our baskets of soiled cloth are for him. All our coins together will be enough to make up the last money. And tomorrow, Josephine will walk to the Van Breda house where David works as a houseboy so he can set himself free. Oh no, we're not waiting another 4 years for these people to set us free. Here on the mountain where their ears can't pry into our mouths, we plan, we wash, we set ourselves free. We plan, we wash, we set ourselves free. This very same sweet water that brought them here will be the key to our freedom. And our sons and our daughters collect our names from the water. And our sons and our daughters tear down your walls and statues. Tear down your walls and statues. Tear down your walls and statues. And so from these histories and stories of resilience, we draw strength and we draw inspiration. And we remember that even though our relationship to the land was disrupted, that there's a much older ancient one that we can remember, that lives in our bones, that lives in our memory. And so now I share the story of 9 people in a poem called Children of Water, who are weaving these histories into the present through their work and advocacy with water. And so this poem, Children of Water, is in honor of Shamir Mahmoud, Tracy Kwai, Joanne Pierce, Anya Martin, Tando Mazomba, Jamila Jana, Megan Rose Francis, Zandile Ndlovu, and Nasreen Pierre. There are many more people. This poem honors their stories particularly. Each of them work at the intersection of community and sea, reweaving the relationships and connections between us that will heal both the ocean and its people. This conservation work that is reclamation, that is healing, that is so much more than just an isolated idea of conservation separate from people. And so this poem is written weaving together their own words with some of my creative input. Children of Water. There is a song in the deep blue sea, singing through you, singing through. Saying, child, come home. Child, come home. Oh. We come to the water to pray, a dua for peace, a gebed vir veiligheid. To the ocean I bring the once removed spirit of true community. From the concrete flatlands through the kelp's clicking sway, each held breath is a remembrance of their arrival across the tide, of the Adhan's call across the shore, of a time long before when we breathed below. Ons kom water toe om te onthou, om weer die gefluisterings te hoor, om die gevoel van geheime deur ons vel te troos. Yeah. In the quiet slow, I become my true self, a story keeper telling and retelling the tales she brought through currents from other lands and peoples, stories of sadness and pain, stories of loss and gain. I make a home for them on the land with my words. I want them to be my community always. Gliding through the gold of her sea forest, my skin is free. To her deepest reaches, I bring memories of erasure and exclusion. I bring respect for her wild, her powerful surges, her calmness. To her ebb and flow, I give my sensitivities of living on this haunted land. I give my vulnerability and my resistance to forgetting this country's past and how it still breathes in our present. Born of a woman who knew all the waters belonged to her and swam where they told her she could not, I answered Mother Water's call with a board on a wave. To a wild and steady embrace, I bring love, admiration, respect, awe. I bring humbleness for our ancestors who dwell there in a blue otherworldliness. The ocean knew me long before I knew myself. I bring me, I come whole. I come as the person she made me to be. Custodian, lover, scientist, student, resilient, adventurer, teacher, activist, happy, determined keeper of Ubuntu. Through her salt breath, I show all my layers, and in turn, I give her my all and say her name everywhere I walk. Wherever the ocean leads, I follow. From the sea cliffs of the Eastern Cape to the mangrove forests of Mozambique, in front of a lens and through a microscope, tracing the path from seabed to net, from shore to heart, to history, to hand. Before fences decided who could fish and when, these waters have always been our home. In their shallows and their depths, I learn the most intimate parts of who I am. To her, I bring my allyship, my vote, and my will. Backlit through the blue, my held breath roams free. Here is where I feel most comfortable and accepted. The water's ways fill me till they overflow. And I want to share all I know of her with you. I want to protect all I know of her with you. A decade of cleaning her rocks and pools, her shore and her undertow, a decade of teaching and seeing how our choices wash into the water. Now we choose differently. We choose better for her. To the water I bring my heart. I wear her in my hair, announcing her presence before I speak. I tell her stories in my sleep and teach them to our children so that one day they can say, my mother was a tree diver. She gave me my love for the sea. And just like that, with one tumble turn through her embrace, we write new stories of who knows her intimately. This camera is a calabash. Its images are smoke rising in gratitude, in remembrance, in praise. Every trip is a new lesson and offers something different to see. I bring her my time and thought, dedicated to understanding and sharing the secrets of life she holds. I keep watch as she changes through seasons and cycles. I bring others too, researchers, explorers, first-time swimmers, a creation of joy and space for the new visitor, the sea, myself. She is where I find God, my mosque, cathedral, and temple. Here I think. Here I let feelings rise and be. Here is where I become whole. I often wonder who I would have been without the sea. There is a song in the deep blue sea, singing through you, singing through me, saying, welcome home, child, welcome home. My final poem shares the work of an organization called the Princess Play Forum, a non-profit, community-led organization that has been working for years to restore wetland on the Cape Flats, an area neglected during apartheid rule because it was designated for colored or non-white South Africans. The wetland is named after the legend of the Khoi princess who is believed to have lived and grazed her cattle there. This poem is both about the history, the reclamation of the land, its present, and also the dreams that the Princess Flay Forum and the community have for what this wetland could be 3 generations from now. Great-grandmother wetland. From the eye of an elephant, a princess cries. Her freshwater stream wends its way down Hurikwacho's southern slopes through canalized banks to this flay, our pride. Her tears are a green lung teeming with kankerbos, skulpad, bessie, willadaga, feigie, sacred ibis, bokmakiri, grey heron, and she is our great-grandmother. In a time long forgotten, she grazed her cattle on these banks. We hear her story on the wind. It tells how settlers assaulted the Khoi princess. And some days the wind sings, murderers. 400 years later, her tears still fall. She wept when the settlers stayed and locked her children's hands in chains. She wept when they mocked Sarki and again when Sister Anna brought Sarki home to rest. When the Group Areas Act flung her grandchildren here like dirt, she wept as oppressive laws decimated the fynbos, raising concrete blocks in its place. She gave us refuge from its shadow. We picnicked in her sun and baptized ourselves in the salt of her tears till apartheid tightened its fist and pockets, discarding our great-grandmother, leaving her bare and barren. Then Galaland grew, boys smoked mandrax in the Maiki Street, and gangs discarded bodies in her waters, till we packed up our picnics, and they sold off our princess to be paved for a shopping mall. But we said no. In protest, we scattered seeds on the wind of her breath, and the Witskoli rose up after 100 years. We planted kapokbos in the soil of her chest and soothed her tears with blowblom sally. We dressed her in Cape satin bush, wove a belt of Cape daisies to sway from her waist, and adorned her with dainty earrings of yellow weed. 13 threatened species reintroduced, 3,000 pairs of hands, put 42,300 plants in her soil, resurrected dune strandveld, revived the sand fynbos. Now the sunbird shimmer and fish eagle feeds and masked weavers craft their homes in the trees. The western leopard toad rustles the reeds with its mating calls, and the Cape clawless otter glides through the still waters. And we return with the baptism stick and our prayers. 0.9 hectares sing her name as before, while 5.5 hectares hum new songs. We send these harmonies forward on the wind to our children's, children's, children's children. Forward 3 generations, where a bridge arches over her waters, eyes peer from bird hideouts along the boardwalk. In the Boma, children rhyme to remember the names of a myriad species. We sing the flay, and the flay sings us. Their laughter echoes through the thwack of pedals and whoop of sails. A hadida calls above a sensei running drills. A fruit seller calls out the day's specials. A bush doctor offers teas and tinctures. Kroon right here, auntie, harvested this morning. On the shore, a great white pelican preens, a sun draws pink notes above the mountain. A guitar begins to strum, and drums erupt the dusk into concert. After the last song, we cycle and walk home along the eco-duct. To cross the highway escorted by dragonflies. The toad's chorus rises and falls through the night. At first light, students with backpacks begin the 2-day trek through Rondevlei, Zikovlei, and along the sewage works to the Makassa dunes. We teach the flays, and the flays teach us. Before leaving, they place a stone on the cairn at the Khoi Memorial. It is noon. A family sits down under the milkwood to eat. Long ago, my great-great-grandmother planted this tree, a boy said. Now 100,000 families eat from this land, teaching, fixing, planting, growing, a business boom in Lotus, Grassy Park and Retreat, and the tourists keep coming, an entire ecosystem humming like bees between the Bitu and Blombos, because we feed our grandmother, and she feeds us. Thank you, everyone. May you remember the land from which you are grown. May you remember the resilience the land is. May you remember the ancestral resources you carry. The earth holds all the answers we seek. She's simply waiting for us to listen to her. And now hand over to Dr. Shanaz Musa, the CEO of CDKN.
Thank you, Tony. And I had a whole document that I prepared as the welcome. But actually, okay, let me first greet all the participants and welcome them to the Resilience Hub virtual session, which is part of an essential journey for us to shaping a more resilient future. I think what is really important about this session is that it brings together Latin America, Africa, and Asia. And it's the first time we've done it this way, because in the past we had regional, each region had its own hubs. I think this is quite significant in that we're starting to transcend these geographic boundaries, and we're doing so through the power of virtual engagement. And for me, Tony, growing up on the Cape Flats, my entry into the resilience space was actually just how harsh the Cape Flats was. So for us, my parents were shifted from District 6 to the Cape Flats. And in District 6, there was community. There was access to food security. Communities supported each other. That was completely broken apart. And families were moved into the very, very harsh Cape Flats. And through that, I realized that to build resilience takes a lot, but actually at what cost to each of the individuals on the Cape Flats. And there's things like where certain of your neighbors, etc., would turn to drugs, would turn to gangsters to try and almost capture what was lost when the communities were torn apart. And during this process, often what is lost is this reminder of the earth and water. And so for me, that was my journey into the resilience space. I then went to study engineering and then completely took a focus on water, and then realized that water was at this intersection as climate evolved. And so I think as we're going into these next 2 days, to actually remember that for all of us, resilience is very, very personal. and to always realize that it comes from an individual context, which then spreads into the community. And so, and to also recognize that the vulnerability of each community and individual is unique. And so I think as we're navigating these complex spaces across continents, it's to do it with respect for each other, but also with respect for the earth that's holding us here. And so I think the next 2 days are really exciting. There's very diverse presentations. So there'll be diverse expertise, experiences, and I think this ultimately leads to those meaningful discussions and what moves us forward into spaces where we recognize what resilience looks like and feels like for individuals as well as for the system. So I think together, I'd like us to commit to making sure that every session counts and that we ensure that our insights are shared, even if you do it via the chat, but to be present. Because as much as we often feel that resilience building can become quite complex and systemic, it comes down to the individual and what drives us to be doing what we're doing. And so I'm handing over to my sister Sheila, and I think we share this common passion that comes from a very much a lived experience. Over to you, Sheila. Sheila, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
So, first of all, thank you so much for making sure that I was in this session, because every poem, every story that both of you shared reminds us about the long history of destruction and reconstruction in which women are at the center of making their communities, their families, their neighborhoods into networks of survival. And I think it is our duty and obligation in the roles that we play to nurture, to amplify, to deepen and strengthen the amazing resilience that women who have faced dislocation, evictions, migration, deprivation, through all kinds of things in the history of last few centuries, of constantly using nurturance and care to produce communities, networks that can nurture and build the capacities of the next generation. And I think it's our obligation, our commitment, and our struggle to ensure that we celebrate that spirit, we protect it, we don't allow extractive instruments from wherever they come, be it in the development or the climate or the national space, to destroy this. Because it's only on this foundation that we can all together deal with this planetary emergency, where we can't say, you have the right to survive, and we don't care if you don't. We see in a lot of discussions, very elite conversations that are mechanical about how many people can the world, the planet coexist with. And they say, oh, it should be around 3 billion. Well, we're already 6 billion. Are we going to do something of making the others disappear? Or are we going to produce the nurturance that is transformative and that nurtures and supports this process? And I think that is a gift and a privilege that all of us who have voices that reach beyond our neighborhoods to champion, to put together, and to try and ensure that every voice that seeks transformation is heard. Collectively, it produces so much demand and expectation that it cannot be ignored, and that we produce instruments, science, technology that produces the capacity of these amazing, resilient, yet vulnerable communities to be able to transform their generation in order to nurture the next. We do not want a century later to have to remember poems like Tony's about what women had to do to survive in a world that made them invisible. So I look forward to these events, these discussions, and I really celebrate this technology that allows all of us to live in different spaces to come together. So back to you. Thank you. Am I supposed to hand it over to somebody or? Janaz?
You're supposed to hand over, and I think it's to Jesper, not to me,
Okay.
Sheila Ji.
Okay, I just saw him.
Yeah.
Hi, Jasper. Congratulations for a wonderful set of events in New York.
Thank you. Hey, that was all teamwork. So congratulations to us for that. Thank you very much. Well, it's always a little bit scary to follow in the footsteps of Shanaz and then Sheila and say something comprehensible and powerful. But I'll give I'll do my best. Yeah, Sheila, as you said, it's wonderful that we have this technology so that we can meet like this, and the regional hubs. Something we started with COP26 so that we could give voices to people and organizations that are not usually able to get to COP and the Blue Zone. I think it's very important. It's what a COP should be like. So I think us doing this really helps in creating a platform for many more voices, and we need those voices. The real problems, the real understanding of the problems is on the ground, and it's not necessarily otherwise part of what goes on and is discussed about in the Blue Zone. So I think it's absolutely critical that we do it. This year it's a very busy COP season as well, with a lot of the conferences going on. So us being able to meet like this, I think, is critical, and I look forward to the conversations and what we can bring with us to the various COPs. So really, just really encouraging everyone to lean in with the issues, the concerns, and so on, so that can be brought into that conversation, and also about having an honest discussion, which I think also needs us to have a sort of a trusting relationship where we can say what is really the matter and look for solutions in a constructive and very inclusive way. I'll finish by saying the one thing that I feel very strongly about, and that is we have to be inclusive, and inclusivity is not something you fix and then you're done with the inclusivity. It's something you wake up to every day. You keep having these conversations. They are not always easy. They're sometimes frustrating. You have to leave your comfort zone, and we have to make others leave their comfort zone to meet and have these conversations. So yeah, in that spirit, let's have a fantastic conversation moving forward. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to hand over to now. But Shuchi, can you take over? Thank you very much, and lovely to see you all on the call. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. We start our next session in 15 minutes from now, and we look forward to having you and attend as many sessions as you can. We're spread across the next 2 days, spread across 3 time zones, afternoon Asia, morning Europe, Africa, morning Latin America, afternoon Europe and Africa. So we're pretty much spread across the time zones as much as we can cover. So we'd love to have you join us from various parts of the world, and increase learning, inspire each other, and ensure that there's maximum voices being taken forward into the COP, the UNFCCC COP, but also the CBD COP and the UNCCD COP as well. So thank you very much. We look forward to having you through the next 2 days. Thank you.